Okay, so now we're going to do some more type details, and so we're back on our same document. We're going to now add our pull quote, and so a pull quote is just a decorative piece of text that is designed to draw the reader's attention. And so we're just going to find an interesting piece of text uh, in Moby Dick, and we're going to copy it and paste it into another spot in the text and just make it decorative. And so I think that I want to use right here, it says that it requires a strong moral principle to prevent me from deliberately stepping into the street and methodically knocking people's hats off. So I'm gonna get my text tool, and I will copy this. It's like 3 lines of type. It requires a strong moral principle to knocking people's hats off, and I'm just gonna copy that. And I think I'm gonna come to the end of this paragraph, and I'm gonna hit return. And I'm going to paste that piece of text in. And right now, it's not a pull quote yet. It's just confusing. But I'm going to make this type a little bit bigger. It doesn't need to be a lot bigger, but maybe like 14 points, something like that. So it's just a little bit bigger. And we're going to go back to our paragraph panel. And our very first option is the left side indent. So it'll indent this entire paragraph while it's selected like this. And I might try 0p6, so that's the same as our space after. So you see that it indented it over here, but it's really not very much. Maybe let's try 0p9. And I think I like that better. I think that's a clearer indent, but it's still less than this space, so it's different than our gutter. And so this type is justified. It's aligned on the right, and I think I want to go back to just plain left align, so it's ragged over here on the right. I also think it might be nice if this text was in italic, so I'm going to go back to my character panel, and I'm hoping that your fonts are the same as mine. So Minion Pro in my version only has regular, but I do have a thing called Minion Variable Concept, which is kind of the Pro version, and so there's a bunch of options under here. And so I'm just going to go to Minion Italic, and so I get something that looks like that. If you do not have Minion Variable Concept, you could use any serif italic, including the Bodoni that we used up here, just in a light italic version. But if you've got the Minion Variable Concept, because they're in the same type family, it's going to look nice together. So I'm just going to use that one. So that's not bad. I don't like the hyphenated word here, and so I'm going to push down this word knock so that it is on this line. So I'm going to, on my keyboard, I'm going to type a shift key and then return, and that's going to push that knocking down here. If I had just pushed a regular return, it's going to make a big gap. Which I don't want because it thinks it's a new paragraph, but holding the shift return, it knows that I just want to push down the line and not make a new paragraph. And then the last thing I think I'm going to do is make it a new color. So I'm going to highlight this whole group of text, or pull quote. I'm going to go to my swatches panel, and if I'm thinking about the color wheel, the opposite of blue would be orange, and so orange kind of makes sense as a color here. We don't have orange in our swatch panel. The closest that we have would be probably red or yellow, and so I can make it red. But let's make a new color. So I highlight this whole thing. I've got red selected, and I'm just going to push the plus button, and you see that it makes a new red swatch. I can double click on this swatch, and then I can adjust this color. And so I'm probably going to take all the cyan or the blue out of it, and I might reduce the magenta to about 60%. And so 60% magenta, 100% yellow, gives me a pretty good orange. If I want it to be a little bit redder than that, I could go to 65 or even 70. And so now I've got kind of a reddish orange, somewhere in that range of 60 to 70% magenta with 100% yellow will give you an orange. And so now I have an orange swatch over here, so I can use it again if I want to. And I've got a pretty good orange for my pull quote. And by having it indented, by having it italic, by having it a different size, it's pretty clear that it's not part of the text. But hopefully it would draw. It's a little bit long for a pull quote. I might prefer something a little bit shorter, but it's okay. The next thing I want to do is that initial cap. If you remember on our original, the C in Call Me Ishmael was big. It was 3 lines tall. So I'm just going to put my cursor up here in the word call. And let me see. So under, where's the best place to find this? Under type, we want to get our initial caps. Where do I want to do that? I want to do it under, let's do it under in our paragraph panel. I think that's going to be the easiest place rather than using the menus. So I'm on my type tool. I've got my cursor up here in the word call. Honestly, as long as the cursor is anywhere in the first paragraph, this will work. And it's almost our last box here. If I hold over this, it's called drop cap number of lines, and initial caps happen in a number of different ways, one of them being a drop cap. And right now it's set on 0. If I set it on 1, it's going to be exactly the same, but if I put it on 2, it makes that C as tall as 2 lines of type. And if I set it on 3, it'll make it as big as 3 lines of type. This is, I could do more letters. So I could do 2 letters or 3 letters or 4 letters if I wanted to. I don't think that I want this. I don't think. I could have that if I wanted to. That's bringing a lot of attention to those. I think that I just want to go back to just the letter C. And you've seen, books, fairy tales, Bibles, lots of kinds of published texts have an initial cap, usually at the beginning of a chapter or something like that. And so that'll just give it a slightly more decorative look. Okay, so we're getting pretty close with our type. Let's do one more thing. Let's create a shadow on Call Me Ishmael. And so I'm going to copy and paste this. So Command C, Command V, here's my, this has a white background, probably from when we were messing with the backgrounds a little bit ago. So I want to make sure that it's on none and not on paper. So right now it's covering up the photos because it's set on paper. If I change it to none, it won't do that anymore. And when I put this next to there, it's kind of a mess. So I'm just going to select the type again, and I'm going to select the darker blue. And right now it's in front, which I guess I could have a light blue shadow. That's not bad. Or I could try, I'm going to go to Object and Arrange and send the dark one to the back and do a dark blue shadow, which is what I was originally thinking. I didn't mind the light blue shadow, but we'll do something like that. So I just copied my headline and made it a darker blue to create a shadow. There's other ways I'm going to teach you to make shadows, but that's the easy way. All right, so I think that the last 2 things that we've got to do are to add photos, and we'll do those in the next and probably last video.